Hello everyone! Today's video is going to be a very psychology-heavy analysis of Nana and what makes it such a good manga and anime. I recently finished rewatching the anime and I was inspired to make this video as it still is and will continue to be one of my favorite shows. I have started reading the manga but I'm not yet done with it, so this video will contain spoilers for the anime, but no manga spoilers. So if you haven't read the manga or if you're currently reading it just like I am, this is a safe space. Nana is a josei. It's a genre targeted towards young adults, and in this video we will get to see why this is so fitting. The plot in Nana is very character driven. This is one of my favorite things in shows. When characters have agency, they almost act like real people, and their actions make the plot further develop. Not the other way around, when the plot forcefully tries to get certain reactions out of character. In this case, the characters make the show keep on going. Their agency makes them a lot more realistic. They're kind of like real people. They have their own motivations and act according to their own desires, and perhaps traumas, as we shall see in a little bit. This makes it a lot easier to empathize with them as real people. The dialogue as well as the character's own internal monologue are both very realistic, don't seem forced, and don't necessarily follow the usual tropes that you would see in anime. The story is very fitting for young adults as the characters are around 20 years old. We see them doing their best and trying to make sense of life and who they are. One of the things I love the most about this anime is that emotional trauma and the dark places some of the characters often get into are handled very realistically. Not many things make you feel less of a person than being cheated on. This is how Hachi's internal world gets shaped by a traumatic event. She thinks she will never be worthy of love again, and continues to spiral straight into Takumi's arms whenever something even remotely negative happens. The insecurity that comes from being in such a dark place is reflected in the way she interacts with others. She thinks that Nana's bandmates are only interacting with her because she is Nana's roommate. Selfish people like Takumi prey on women who feel unwanted, so that they can take advantage of them without really giving them much or anything for that matter in return. The insecure will never ask for more and will be unhealthily understanding of their situation, thinking that they are not really worthy of more, of real love or happiness. Being in this type of relationship while in a dark place can be a very scary thing. On one hand, you are afraid of loneliness, so you cling with everything you've got to your partner. The dynamic reflects your own insecurities and current view of the world, almost further solidifying them. This makes it even harder to leave. Hachi's physical relationship with Takumi ended up growing into emotional dependence. She starts going to him whenever she feels empty inside or just disgusted with herself, because she thinks Takumi is the only person who can accept these sides of her because he is too a cold, selfish person. We often seek people that affirm our view of the world, or we choose certain relationship dynamics we are familiar with, despite them not really being what we consciously want. For example, one could think that, oh, I want to be loved, but then always go for unavailable men or women, because this is what they are used to. So Hachi, feeling like she is less of a person, ridden with guilt, gets attached to Takumi, who constantly affirms her beliefs that she is not good enough by not offering her the love that she would normally deserve. Takumi is a great example of an emotionally unavailable narcissist who only really cares about himself and his own needs. Narcissists also tend to be controlling, though this is not a prescriptive label by any means. So Takumi seems to be into Hachi's naivete and helplessness, as this makes her very easy to manipulate. Nobu, on the other hand, is everything good that Hachi desires, but she is reluctant to let herself indulge as she doesn't believe she is worthy of any of this. She doesn't believe she is worthy of happiness. The longer she spends with Takumi, the harder it becomes for her to accept Nobu, as I've mentioned before, Takumi affirms her negative self-beliefs and worldview. This is what people often don't understand about unhealthy or even abusive relationships. Everyone just says, well, just get out of it. You're not being trapped there. But to some extent you are. It's important to understand these things if we truly want to help people that are struggling with this, or to even notice that the relationship we're in might not be the best for us. The pregnancy is almost the last brick in this wall that keeps her trapped with Takumi. Throughout the series, we see Hachi acting selfishly, not with an ill intent necessarily, but simply out of not understanding or not putting in the effort to understand the ones around her and their own needs. I don't think she is mature enough to be considering these things. So as we know, Nana ends up choosing Takumi to raise her baby. Now, is her decision to raise the child with Takumi simply because he can provide material support a sacrificial decision? It seems on the outside that she is willing to give up on her own happiness and emotional fulfillment in order to be able to offer her child the best life. This would be a sign of emotional growth. But is this what her decision really signifies? Or has she simply internalized her worthlessness? We can see that the main characters in Nana tend to be very complex and psychologically realistic. But even the secondary characters are all dynamic and very developed. For example, Yasu puts his happiness before others. He's always there for everyone else and doesn't really expect anything in return. He is an interesting example of this almost superhero complex. He finds his own identity through negating parts of himself and taking in others'. Instead of ever focusing on his needs, he is always there for others, putting them first. This sure makes him very dependable, and it seems like he's got everything figured out because he can, be so selfless and help people. But I think in reality, Yasu ends up building a lot of codependent relationships with the ones around him because of how he forms his identity through the ones around him and not really himself. Yasu is Yasu as long as he is being useful and needed. Now let's talk about the other main character, the other Nana. Both Nanas moved to Tokyo in order to achieve their dreams, despite their dreams being inherently very different. Now the problem with achieving something, be it a dream or a goal, it's almost hard to accept it when we feel like we don't deserve it or when we feel it's not all us. This experience can be very different for everyone, depending on how strong or insecure our ego is. In Nana's case, her band gained popularity through Ren. Her ego doesn't allow her to be thankful to Ren, despite Ren only really kickstarting the discourse around Blast and them becoming popular because of their own efforts and music. Nana's ego doesn't allow her to be thankful to Ren or this artificial opportunity almost by acknowledging his role in her success, because that means she would undermine her own. It's important to accept that we are what we are because of multiple factors, be it the people in our lives and their influence, it being direct or indirect, along with the environment we grew up in, the way we remember things, and so on. Nana's childhood trauma, her parental abandonment, affects how she currently views Ren and relationships in general. She's still seemingly harboring resentment from when he left their hometown for Tokyo. Nana's childhood taught her that she cannot really count on others, and since then, she has always aimed to be strong, independent in order to avoid being hurt again. Back when Ren decided to join Trap Nest, Nana chose to let him go, but the lingering feelings of abandonment she experienced back then are still in her heart. Nana clings to Hachi in a similar way. Though her ego doesn't allow her to express how much she wants Hachi in her life, she is scared of being abandoned again. Like Hachi, Nana is also scared of being alone, as most of the characters in this anime are. I find this to be very realistic, as this is something we all experience at some point in our lives. Fear of loneliness. To sort of conclude my semi-structured rambling, Nana is a story about identity formation, understanding oneself, and emotional growth. We witness the characters love, suffer, and their journey in trying to create a coherent internal narrative about who they are and what their place in the world is. If this kind of story isn't representative of young adulthood, I don't know what is. The introspective and almost melancholic narration offers a glimpse of where the characters currently are in their internal journey. And it further shows the importance of self-reflection in emotional development and growth. This is about it for today. If you like these kinds of videos, make sure to leave a like and a comment down below letting me know if you have any suggestions of similar analyses or maybe more philosophical analyses that I can do on different anime or shows. And I will see you all in next week's video.